So we're going to talk about anosognosia today. I made some notes and I'm going to be reading from those a little bit. But anosognosia is viewed as a deficit of self-awareness, a condition in which a person who suffers a certain disability seems unaware of the existence of his or her disability. It was first named by the neurologist Joseph Babinski in 1914. Anosognosia results from physiological damage to brain structures, typically to the partial lobe or a diffuse lesion on the frontotemporal parietal area in the right hemisphere. In my first episode of having schizophrenia, the delusions were so real that I couldn't escape them. It was the lack of insight is the most difficult aspect of schizophrenia. The brain switches off logical reasoning. You're left in this kind of science fiction reality where your delusions are real. And thinking on that, growing up we're told to always trust our instincts as children. And that becomes very difficult when your instinct is so warped and that you can't have any logical reasoning because you're suffering from a brain disease. So that gives you a little insight into it. But when I was going through my first episode, I was seeing codes and I had some grandiosity, believing that I'd been chosen for something special. And I totally believed everything that was happening, because when you're hearing voices that aren't real, it's a little difficult to get an idea of what is actually happening in your life. These things are so real, and you're following your instinct, which is not grounded in reality, that you're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. You're living one delusion to the next. You're not grounded in any type of reality. Like I said, it's a type of science fiction reality. Everything that's happening to you is a delusion, and those delusions there's a broad spectrum of delusions that are going through your head. And I had tons of them, and none of them were anywhere near reality. But the good thing about it is, even though we do have a broken healthcare system, mental health care system, there are good people in the world, because when I was at my breaking point and I just didn't know where to go, didn't know what to do, I wasn't listening to my parents because they thought I was on drugs. I went to the college advisors, the VA advisors, and they said, you got to get to the hospital. And so they drove me there, and I was even having delusions while I was there. And I thought, who knows what I thought, but it would have been really difficult to get treatment if I hadn't gone to the VA advisors at the college. They really helped me. But they're used to, they're kind of used to seeing that kind of thing come up every now and then, so they knew exactly what to do. And from there I went into the worst experience of my life, being in a psych ward because when you're in a psych ward, your delusions are even more pronounced, because you're feeding off of other people's delusions, and then everybody's, you know, it's just a bad place to be when you have delusions and that kind of stuff. The healing doesn't come until years after you've been on medication, and I haven't had a setback since I went into the hospital. But another thing I'd like to add is, even though I haven't had a setback, the medication doesn't really help with delusions. The delusions are always there. It's just you have to find what your triggers are and work on those. And so a lot of the stuff that I had that were delusions, I figured out they were not real, because, you know, they never manifested in the ways that I thought they would manifest. And also, I've also read more about mental illness and mental health, and one of the things that really made me think about where I am in terms of healing and everything, and where I want to be, is as in different cultures, okay, so in understanding the different illnesses and everything, the way that I came to terms with my illness, I guess is what I want to say, is I looked at other cultures and how they interpreted delusions and everything. And for instance, in certain African regions of the world, in the African continent, there's different. There's more emphasis on religiosity, and so when I looked at the religiosity of those African nations, and the delusions that schizophrenics had there, it was always in terms of the religion, and they would have delusions about religion and that kind of stuff. Whereas in first world nations, we have delusions about technology and secret government and that kind of stuff. So looking at